Hello and welcome to the first episode of Way or No Way, where I review movies, comics, and let you know whether I think they're fit for the viewing public or fit for viewing at Guantanamo Bay. Today's first entry is Superman Shazam First Thunder, written by Judd Winnick, a 4-part miniseries set to tell of the first meeting between Superman and his magical counterpart, Captain Marvel.
For those who aren't aware, back in the Golden Age, Captain Marvel Adventures, owned by Fawcett Comics, was one of the most popular books around, topping sales of even Superman's comics. DC, known back then as National Periodical Publications, decided to sue Fawcett on the basis of copyright infringement. After several years of legal battles, Fawcett decided to settle out of court.
Losing the lawsuit, coupled with the waning popularity of superhero comics after World War II, drove Fawcett into desperate times. At first, they tried to introduce horror elements into Captain Marvel stories, since horror comics had seen a rise in popularity. But ultimately, they promised never to publish another story of the Big Red Cheese. I never liked that nickname.
To make a long story short, Fawcett licensed out its characters to DC Comics, which gave them new life. However, more problems arose when Marvel Comics had its own Captain Marvel, that of a superheroic alien warrior completely unrelated to Fawcett's flagship character. Unable to use the name, they decided to use the magic word that Billy Batson would speak to transform into his alter ego, and thus the confusing marketing saga that is Shazam has begun.
Well, I know I said make a long story short, but do they really think we'll not notice the difference between a Marvel Captain Marvel book and a DC comic book titled Captain Marvel with a DC logo on it? They're two completely different characters. At least with Superman you can make a comparison, but this to me is just marketing executives thinking that people are idiots. But enough about all that stuff. What about the comic in question? Well, the backstory of the legal troubles set up what some Captain Marvel fans consider a mistreatment of a character simply because he mopped the floor with him in the beginning. Which I think is a little unfair, considering that Superman is one of DC's flagship characters, and it just wouldn't look good having his butt handed to him regularly by a lower list character, regardless of how woefully underrated he may or may not be.
We open our comic on a monologue by the wizard Shazam. I see time's horizon as easily as the sailor sees the sun dip into the surface of the ocean. Or at least I would if I didn't have floodlights on my damn ceiling. We are entering the second age of the great heroes. It is before the coming of the Amazon.
Don't laugh.
The speedster, the space knight. Why is Winnick emphasizing words in every sentence? Did he go to the Frank Miller School of Caption Text Writing?
It's been less than 1 year since the criminals of the city of Gotham began to tell stories of a winged creature, just as Metropolis has found itself under the protection of a brightly clad guardian! It sounds as silly as it looks, doesn't it?
We cut to a scene where a plane is losing control and about to crash into a crowded area. Just as the plane is about to hit a couple of teens, it suddenly stops. Looking up, the people see Captain Marvel holding the plane by its tail end. Wait a second. Wouldn't the momentum from the sudden stop cause the tail to rip off, killing people anyway? And not only that, wouldn't the same sudden stop cause the pilot, who wasn't wearing a seatbelt, to face plant through the windshield?
Superhero comics, where physics is more of a suggestion than an actual law.
Witness accounts varied. Many said that the plane was brought down by lightning or an explosion. It was the sound of a lightning bolt on a cloudless day from a clear blue sky. He told all within earshot that his name was Captain Marvel. He is my disciple, my herald, my champion, for I am the wizard Shazam.
It's not what the cover says, wrinkly McSaggy skin.
After expounding some on fate being an inexhaustible foe, we turn to Last Night, Metropolis Museum of Natural History. Here we have a cult attempting to steal ancient artifacts. And we get the other half of this tag team for the ages, Superman, who looks to be passing the time using humans for a yo-yo. Superman?
You were expecting Mel Brooks?
The cultists slam down their glowing mystic pimp canes and summon a giant troll who fights Superman. After having an unusual amount of trouble fighting off the troll, Superman finally deduces what was behind the creature's appearance. Magic.
You know, never believe it's not so.
We cut to a scene where Captain Marvel is fighting a pair of the Iron Giant's developmentally challenged cousins. You don't see this every day.
No, just every second Thursday and third Saturday. Next, keep weird schedules like that.
A few months ago, I'd have given anything to see two giant fire-breathing robots up close. Really? I get that he's really a kid underneath all that muscle, but still. Anyway, Captain Marvel defeats the robots and meets with Dr. Bruce Gordon. If his name sounds familiar, it should. He's the original host of the entity known as Eclipso.
But I'm sure that information was completely unnecessary, and this is the last time we'll see him in this miniseries.
It turns out the robots were trying to destroy his solar center. Bruce Gordon wants him to leave one behind so that they can research it. We later come to a scene in an abandoned subway station. Billy Batson, Captain Marvel's true identity.
Captain Marvel's a little kid who's homeless? I never would have guessed! Because I and pretty much everyone who picked up the comic knew this beforehand. Not only that, if you're going to reveal someone's secret identity, you don't do it in another panel and just tell the reader in a caption box. You show the transformation occurring. That way, it won't be made to look like it isn't a big deal or, big muscle-bound guy's little kid, whatever.
So here he is talking to his best friend Scott Cooper about his life as a superhero. Okay, somebody skipped the part in Superheroing 101 where you don't give out your secret identity to anybody, ever. Apparently Winnick thought that this was a good idea since Billy was a kid, and figured he'd pretty much blab it to anybody close to him, like his best friend. Scott lives at a foster home, and Billy has him clean his clothes and bring him supplies. Yes, because staying with bums, vagrants, and God knows who else could probably kill you while you sleep for any number of reasons is so much better than food, shelter, and a bed. We change scenes to a skyscraper in the city where someone says, "Please tell me why he isn't dead yet. I'd really like an answer." Because, Dr. Savannah, he's invulnerable to harm, stronger than 50 men, and can fly.
Not only that, but it's the first issue in a retcon miniseries. You're pretty much boned with the whole killing Captain Marvel thing.
As it turns out, Savannah is the one who sent the robots into the city to destroy the solar center. Bruce Gordon's project was a PR stunt that Savannah used as a tax shelter, and it wasn't really supposed to work. He complains that the center being operational will adversely affect the fossil fuel interests, causing Savannah to lose billions. So he's not just a textbook mad scientist, but also a textbook evil industrialist.
What is it with industrialism being evil? Do you have to take a personality test before you can even work at an industrial company? Sorry, son, despite the fact that you created an actual death ray and use it on your gym teacher for laughing at your dress-out clothes, you're just not evil enough to work here.
So Savannah decides to call Lex Luthor, since he has experience dealing with a similar man in a cape who flies and is strong problem. We cut to another museum scene where Billy is scoping out the place. Here we finally get the transformation scene that should have been done 5 pages ago. Inside, the cultists are about to steal another artifact called the Sabakian Channeling Idol. It'll make sense in later issues. Soon the power that flows through the proverbial river Styx will be at our disposal. Proverbial? You can summon trolls and use magic. Shouldn't it be the literal river Styx? Clearly you believe all of this stuff to be real, so why are you referring to it as though it's only a legend? Captain Marvel arrives and does a cute little quip. The bad guys are unfazed, however. Another costumed interloper. Very well. But you should be warned. We're getting quite adept at dispatching the likes of you.
You summoned a troll and you ran away while it distracted Superman momentarily and then dispersed into smoke. You're quite adept at annoying and fleeing.
This time, instead of pimp canes, a single cultist uses the Lochnar to summon the ghosts of Double Dare's past. Captain Marvel rushes to fight them and gets bitch-slapped out of the museum. The last page of the comic shows someone asking Cap if he's okay, turning around to find that it's none other than Mr. Top Billing himself, Superman! It looks like you could use a hand.
Oh no, I just like to leap out of buildings and faith plant myself. Those bad guys off. This comic isn't really all that bad. There's a couple throwaway gags, and Middleton's art is nicely rendered, but all in all, it's a decent setup to what might be a decent story. I don't expect groundbreaking storytelling, but then again, with Judd Winnick at the helm, I don't expect much of anything. I'll be back soon to take on First Thunder issue number 2.